everybody, and happy Monday to you. Excited to be here today. Excited to be here. We have a lot to talk about today. I'm pretty excited about the show today. I mean, first and foremost, what could be more important than bubble wands at Disney World, right? I mean, I don't know if you're watching, but bubble wands at Disney World, which... I'm going to try and behave myself a little bit, folks. But Lindsey Graham, the one and only Lindsey Graham, who loves amnesty for illegals, who loves every war he can find, who loves everything that really the Democrats love, or neocon, basically anybody who's not America First. If people who are not America First love it, Lindsey Graham loves it. Well, Lindsey Graham, who is, by the way, he is single. He is never married. He has no children. And there are rumors that are very unconfirmed that he likes playing with certain wands himself. Let's just say that he likes playing with wands that are of a different nature than bubble wands. At least that's the rumor. And we don't know. We can't confirm that, right? I mean, I will tell you 100%. I have never personally confirmed that Lindsey likes playing with wands other than bubble wands. But I can confirm he does like playing with bubble wands. Now, does that mean he likes playing with other sorts of wands? I don't know, but maybe. He is at Disney World today. As our Senate sits shut down, And as nothing is happening there because they're in recess, right? I mean, DHS is unfunded, TSA is a disaster, everything's a mess in this country. But the Senate is taking a couple weeks off because, they've worked really hard to accomplish nothing. I mean, literally nothing. They've worked very hard accomplishing nothing, though. So they're taking a little bit of a break. And on that break, Lindsey Graham has gone by himself because I don't know who else he'd take, but he's gone by himself to Disney World of all places. The happiest place in the world for little kids. Just interesting. By the way, I posted this. I posted this on X. I said, I see Lindsey Graham is at Disney World. He's not married, has no kids, doesn't mind other people's kids dying in foreign wars, and is very against real transparency in the Epstein files. Curious, right? I mean, again, we know he likes playing with wands because this is Lindsey Graham. He is here. Can we zoom out on this? This part right here is very important. This thing in his hand, he is handling a bubble wand. Apparently, this is very, very important. I view this as just absolute, inarguable proof that Lindsey Graham likes playing with wands. Now, what kind of wands, whether it's just bubble wands or other wands, I don't know. But let's just say that Lindsey Graham, who is single, has no kids, and is against anybody talking about the Epstein files, does seem to appear to like to play with wands and go to Disney World where there's lots of young children. We'll let you draw any conclusions that you want. I'm not implying anything, of course. That would be completely wrong. And but by the way, vote Mark Lynch in South Carolina for the love of God. Please get rid of this wand playing pervert. The guy who's a neocon that I don't like, he just seems bad. But by the way, don't worry about DHS funding bills. Who needs DHS? I mean, we're doing great. Everybody likes long lines at the airports, and nobody wants to deport any illegals anyways. That would be insane. Moving on. Like I said, lots happening today. We're going to bring on someone new to the show, Jonathan Hewitt. And Jonathan is from Oklahoma, and I'm excited to bring him in. Jonathan, he's done a little bit of homework for us. And he's focused in Oklahoma, and I think that this provides a very, very important case study, right? He's going to talk a little bit about some corruption that's occurring on the state level in Oklahoma. And I want you guys to listen to this because what Jonathan has found is representative of what's happening in every state in this country, Democrat or Republican. Now, the important thing about this is Jonathan is from Oklahoma, the reddest state in the country. Every single county in Oklahoma voted Donald Trump, every single one of them. This is the reddest state in the country. And it's a perfect illustration because you've got to understand the uniparty. The uniparty is what's actually running our country right now. And this isn't a fight about DNR. As we go into midterms, we've got to understand this isn't a DNR thing. This is a uniparty versus the rest of us. Now, granted, the left, the Democrats, they're completely insane. They're absolutely lunatics. I mean, guys, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to pull this up. I just have to. Have you guys been watching? Did you guys look this weekend at the No King stuff? And I'm sorry, I'm going to get Jonathan on here in just a minute, but this is really, really, really important. I mean, this is the kind of thing that if I would be remiss as a podcast professional if I didn't bring this up, because the fact that I didn't even think to bring this up until now is really, it's almost an embarrassment. But did you guys, Mike, can we bring this up? I want everybody to see this. This is symbolic of the No Kings protest. This right here, we're going to show you this. I want to show you this video. This is very, very, it's famous as can be. Here, look at.
All you people who want to talk shit in my comments and say mean things, you wouldn't have the balls to say that shit to my face.
Oh, yeah, I would. You're a fat pig.
Because you voted for Trump.
No, I've got.
Courage. You have.
No, I'd be happy to tell you you're a fat, disgusting cow.
No soul. You are actively participating with being okay with the unaliving of innocent people.
Oh, we are?
The bans against women's bodies in our own country.
Yeah.
And the pedophilic nature of the people that you're choosing to worship right now. So you can kiss my fat disabled ass.
I don't want to kiss anything about your fat disabled rear end or any other part of your body. In fact, the idea of kissing or even coming close to you really does make me throw up frequently. And I've probably thrown up 118 times since I've seen your picture and now that I know that you exist. And so this creature has become the face of the No Kings protest, and rightly so. I want to zoom in a little bit. Here, let's make this big so you can see. This thing in the middle, which is I wasn't sure. I actually only found out later that this thing is actually female. I don't know whether it identifies as female, but I guess it's got girl parts or was born that way, or I don't know. Maybe this is proof that you can be whatever you identify as, because I would have to ask it what it is before I could identify it. Anyways, so this is the face of the No Kings protest. And this, by the way, I don't know what this is. I think this is someone who thinks they're a dog. And I don't know what this is. Basically, I don't know what any of this is. But this is the face. So understand, when I rip Lindsey Graham, he might be better than these things. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, what can I... Folks, you understand that right now I'm asking you whether a GOP leader who's endorsed by the president of our United States and who happens to be one of the more influential senators in this country, I think I'm legitimately wrestling whether he's better than these creatures. This is where we are in this country. Okay, so you want to know why this is happening, how this happens, how this sort of nonsense can occur, and everything else. Well, it's because of the corruption we're seeing around the country. It's deep, it's serious. And this is the reason that we have to really try and help people to understand what's going on and dig into. And what's happening in Oklahoma is happening everywhere. Yes, the Republicans are better than that creature and her fat disabled rear. But I mean, is that really that's what we're striving for? Better than that? Maybe we could set the bar a little higher. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to get into all this. I want to bring in Jonathan, but before I do, I need your support. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. Listen, we need to make our country healthy again. We got to fight the Maha issues. We got to fight to make America great again. But we can't fight for Maha or to make America great again unless we can root out the corruption. And the reality is unless you're selling out to somebody, nobody wants to fund you. So please help us, because I'm not going to sell out to anybody. I'm going to keep pushing truth, and I'm going to keep pushing facts, whether anybody likes it or not. So please, GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. I promise you, I don't want to play with anybody's wand like Lindsey Graham. Also, go to TomRenz.com, www.TomRenz.com. Check out our shop, check out our partners and affiliates. Look at this. Look at all these people. All of these guys, you go here and you get discounts on everything you could ever possibly want, times 100. This is our partners and affiliates. Most of these are checkout code Renz. Some of them you got to use our links, but most of them are checkout code Renz. Any of these things you want to get, you get a discount. Always, we talk about our partners at Global Healing. Make sure you get men's testosterone support, or men's hormone support. All natural product. It's not a TRT. It's just a natural product. It's going to help you balance all your hormones as a man. It might even help that creature. I don't know what it is. I mean, we're not real sure what it is. So we're gonna avoid her fat disabled butt. Her words, not mine. I would never have said anything about her fat disabled butt, but she did. So I want to respect her by acknowledging her fatness, her disabledness, and her buttness. All three of those things, because they are all relevant. And then also we want to scroll down today and Paleo Valley, right? I love Paleo Valley. Use our link. You get 15% off the whole store if you use our link. If you click here, you get 15% off everything. I love, love, love their apple cider vinegar supplement. It's more than just apple cider vinegar. They've got a great supplement for mental health. Love their proteins, their bone broth proteins, great stuff. Just Paleo Valley is a wonderful, wonderful product line. Make sure you're checking those out. They're not what I thought, guys. When I first heard of Paleo Valley, I'm like, and I heard about them from my friend Dr. Drew. He's a big sponsor of them, and or they're a big sponsor of his. But they're a great product line. Make sure you're checking them out. Just get them on your list. They're great people. So Paleo Valley, use our link, get 15% off the entire store, and you can check for the link in the comments as well. So, all right. Well, without further ado, let's talk about corruption. And let's talk about the corruption that allows people with fat, disabled butts that walk other people who pretend they're dogs while attending No Kings conferences. I don't really even know what to say about this. But let's talk to Jonathan Hewitt, because he knows all about fat, disabled, weird people that sit in chairs and. Okay, maybe not. Let's bring Jonathan on here. With that introduction, Jonathan, fill us in on your expertise about fat, disabled people who like their butts kissed.
Thanks, Tom. That's a glorious introduction. I don't think I will ever live that one down. So I guess their fat, disgusting butts can stay far away from me. Maybe she should be a guest on your show. I think she'd probably like that.
I would honestly, I would get a huge boot out of this, of interviewing this person. And I wouldn't even, I don't even think I'd be mean, because I don't think I'd have to. I could just let her exist, and the comments would be great on this. I mean, my audience, I would love to see the comments if I had that clown show. It's like a sideshow. It's like a sideshow. It's like like the circuses, they used to have the freak shows. Like, now the freak shows are just the Democrat Party. I mean,
they just walk out in the open view nowadays.
Yeah, they don't even get paid for it. At least back in the day, they used to be smart enough to charge admission. But now they I don't know, they say, hey, I'm a proud Democrat. Anyways,
backtrack to the King's protest, and I'll give you my introduction. I think that it's funny, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it, right? The British had their own No King's protest over in England, and my wife and I were talking.
Well, that's ironic.
Exactly, right? They're like, the country that still has a king is having no King's protests because they're raging liberals and don't understand that they have a king. But anyway, so yeah, my name is Jonathan Hewitt. I live in Oklahoma. And so I have a pretty unique background. I'm a Marine.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I was a former police officer. I was a police officer for about 7 years. And then my wife and I moved to Oklahoma back in 2021. At that time, I got a job working as a legislative assistant inside the House of Representatives. And that was like my first introduction into like the political corruption that occurs. Like, everyone has like a feeling, but you don't really see it till you're in the midst of it.
Yep.
I worked for the most conservative member of the Oklahoma House of Representatives. Her name was Wendy Stearman. She unfortunately lost her election to a raging Democrat. Not actually, but it's a Republican that should have a D behind his name, not an R. Oh. But I digress. And so then after that, I got into some sales, and then I'm actually back on active duty today. And so I guess I will start with saying that all the statements are my own, and they don't represent any policies or positions of the United States Marine Corps or the Department of War. But in 2024, I ran my own election against my representative because he too was and is corrupt. He spent a crap ton of money against me. I spent $6,000 and lost by just shy of 100 votes.
Well, and let me be, we're going to get into this, but folks, I want you guys to understand something. We've talked about this and chronicled this extensively. The left funds leftist Republicans. Okay, the left will fund leftist Republican. So if you get a guy who's a conservative, grassroots, can't be controlled, idealist, patriot, guy like Jonathan, they run for office, the left will fund a rhino to run against them in a deeply red district because they know that a guy like Jonathan's going to shut them down. If they can put a sellout into any position, well, that's as good as a Democrat.
Sometimes worse.
Yeah. Well, the enemy you can't see is much worse than the enemy you can. So with that, what happened? Tell us about how this all went down.
Yeah. So while I was working inside the House, Representative Stearman and I began looking at political action committees and consultants and trying to map it. So in Oklahoma, like you said at the beginning, it is the most conservative state in the country. All 77 counties voted red. All 77 counties have voted for Trump, both in his first election and then back in 2024, right? So long standing there. But what a lot of people don't know is in 2012 and before to statehood, Oklahoma was actually a Democrat-controlled state. The chambers were actually flipped. Supermajority Democrats, and then it flipped around the 2012 area. Well, what we were trying to figure out is that, well, we have a supermajority in the House, we have a supermajority in the Senate, we control the executive. Like, why is it that high priority, like conservative reform stalls? And so that's where I got my first introduction into it. And then I got out and I started to map it. And so Oklahoma has a system called the Oklahoma Guardian, which is its ethics and compliance. I say compliance loosely. Like agency that requires candidates and city members to file their ethics, where you can see where they get money from and where they spend their money. And what I noticed at first, it just seemed like tertiary, right? Like just these random expenditures. But after spending more than 200 hours in the ethics, I was able to notice patterns that started to evolve, and specifically among the leadership classes in both chambers. And what was once something that was just thought of and spoke behind closed doors, I now had a clear picture of. And that kind of brings me to like where I am today. And so what's interesting is that to really understand, we have to start in like 2018, actually. So during 2018, conservatives in the House specifically started to gain numbers. And for the first time in Oklahoma history, it was believed that we may actually start to get the conservative reform that we want. Well, what came next, I don't think anybody could have like predicted, was that those conservative incumbents were targeted by a coordinated effort backed by both members within their own caucus and a PAC known as the Conservative Alliance PAC, which is a national political action committee. And so what's really, really interesting, and it goes farther, and this is like the next layer down, is that the ethics show that the PAC spent substantial amounts of money via independent expenditures. And for those that are listening that don't know what that is, independent expenditures are electioneering communications that are allowed by political action committees that cannot be coordinated with a candidate's committee, which allows them to be what you guys all know and hear as dark money. They're 501c4s that don't have to tell you where their money comes from. And then they're the reason that you get all the mailers 2 days before election telling you that your liberal Republican is the most conservative Republican to ever grace the halls of 23rd and Lincoln here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, so let me interrupt there. I want to clarify for everybody, because Jonathan, you're a master of this material, so I want to make sure that people who don't have the knowledge that you do understand. What he's talking about is a PAC legally is not allowed to coordinate its messaging with a candidate, right? So generally, these big super PACs, you see all these different things, they raise all sorts of money, and they can raise as much money as they want. The big super PACs can raise just massive amounts of money. The deal is, though, is they're not allowed to coordinate specifically with the campaign. So if you're running for Congress and you've got this super PAC out there that's the super duper Republican super PAC, and they've got $1 bajillion, well, they can spend their $1 bajillion however they choose to support whoever they want to. but they can't work with you directly. Now, you can say, hey, we hope you guys are supporting us. We hope you'll endorse us. We hope you'll back us, whatever. But that's it. You can ask for support, but you can't coordinate. You can't work with them. They got to do their thing. You got to do yours. So what happens is on the Republican side, and please correct me if you disagree with any of this, or Jonathan, you will get massive Republican PACs or PACs that they call Republican. But those Republican PACs spend tons of money making sure that candidates that get supported who are not actually MAGA candidates. They'll raise money because they'll tell you they are the conservative PAC, the Patriot PAC, the God Family Country PAC, but then they support big-time rhinos.
Abortion.
Is that kind of what you saw?
Yeah. What's actually interesting is that a little bit later I'll talk about, there's actually a PAC in Oklahoma that is a conservative PAC, I'll put that in quotes, that has a expenditure to a Democrat. Which is, there's no morality in them at all.
No. But they raise money as a conservative PAC.
Yes. And then they spend it to support people that, when you look at their voting record, are far from it. And so in Oklahoma, like that Conservative Alliance PAC back in 2018 gave substantial amount of money to a consulting firm known as Campaign Advocacy Management Professionals, which is in Oklahoma colloquially known as CAMP. And so we need to make sure we remember that name. That name is going to show up a lot. And it's kind of the centerpiece of our discussion today.
Okay.
But what we saw is that, like, what appeared to be is less a grassroots rebellion and more like a consultant-driven restructuring of who stayed inside the legislature. What's interesting is that CAMP today is at the hallmark or the centerpiece of the leaderships in both chambers. For example, so Speaker Kyle Hilbert, Senator Pro Tem Lonnie Paxton, the current Attorney General Gettner Drummond, the former Speaker of the House Charles McCall, who is a front runner in the gubernatorial race along with the AG, all paid CAMP, right? But it doesn't just stop there. It extends to things like committee chairmen, like prolific committees, right? So like the people that are in charge of deciding like where your money goes, like where your taxpayer dollars are going, like via the appropriations and budget committees, the rules committees where they decide what bills live and die, right? All paid in Oklahoma CAMP. And so
by the way, I want everybody to understand CAMP that Jonathan is talking about occurs in every state in this country. Now, they have different names. It's not always the same people. There's different consulting groups, but in every state in this country, there's a couple consulting groups that work with these C4 organizations and these PACs, and they control everything. You cannot win an election for a statewide race, and even down to key legislative races, without their support or funding, because you'll run with a few thousand, they'll throw tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And on a local level, that makes the difference. So go ahead. I just want people to understand this also happens on the federal level, but with a much add decimal points, right? A lot more money on federal races. What you're hearing here, this is critical, folks, because the corruption Jonathan is talking about is the same playbook, whether it's a U.S. senator, a U.S. House of Representative, a House member or senator in Idaho, Oklahoma, Nevada, Ohio, pick your state. It's the same thing. This is also why Red Texas has a leadership that keeps selling out all of the principles that the people of Texas support. So go ahead, Jonathan. I just want to make sure we've got to keep reiterating the fact that what you have uncovered, I can tell you guys, I've done my work, is happening in every single state of the union. It's happening times 10 on the federal level, but it's happening in every state legislature across the country.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And what's interesting is that you can go look on the FEC website, right? The Federal Ethics Commission. And you can go in and look at the expenditures. Like 501c4s may not have to tell you where they got their money from, but they still have to file expenditures in the states that they're doing business in. And so just what I would urge you all, just go look at your state and then just go see what federal money is coming into your state's elections, right? And then see what consulting firms or what media groups or that are getting that money, right? And then go see on your state side who then uses those groups, right? And what you'll start to see is this like circular closed loop system of money that just flows within this political ecosystem. It's absolutely insane. And so what's really interesting about the camp thing in Oklahoma is that the founder of camp, a gentleman by the name of Fountain Holland, as reported in the Associated Press and the Journal Record, has previous accusations and public accusations of campaign finance fraud, right? So like communicating with candidates and money coming from political action committees. He got tied up. Now I'll say that it was dismissed by the district attorney at the time. No finding of guilt, nothing like that, just was dismissed coincidentally enough. But that did occur. But what's even more interesting is that he then said, remember, this guy represents a bunch of Republicans inside the House and the Senate. He said in the Associated Press that he was excited and happy to have unseated so many conservative members at the time.
That seems about right.
And so inside Oklahoma's chambers, camp has about 17, as of the last time I checked, of House leadership members that use him, which is a vast majority, more than, I think it's like 72%. And then all but 2 of the Senate leadership team use him as their consultant.
So the guy who was proud that he was able to unseat a bunch of conservatives in Oklahoma is now representing the leadership almost universally at the Oklahoma State House. This is a little bit like Mitch McConnell's crew in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, it's like the foxes in the hen house.
100%. 100%. So tell me about this. What did you find?
So I found that, so of it, there's more than, in just the last election cycle, right? Not over their entire 10 years. We are talking of more than upwards of like $300,000. And what I think is really, really important for people to understand, this isn't the representatives or senators like actual money going to it. It is your tax dollars, or not your tax dollars, I'm so sorry. It's your dollars, right? Like if you donated to a candidate and then that candidate then used a consultant, well, they pay it out of their campaign account. And so for Oklahomans specifically, right, camp receives a large portion of money that's received through donations to those members. They pay it out of their campaign account. And so, and then in the Senate, because they're just bigger districts, so they just have more money to play with, it's closer to like 400,000 in one election cycle. So just in the Senate and the House, camp has made more than $1 million. Right. What's really, really interesting is when we go look at the Attorney General of Oklahoma. So the sitting Attorney General and a front runner of our gubernatorial race, as of the Q1 of 2024's filing period, had given $1,087,446 to camp.
Wow.
So you're talking about this gentleman and his company within one election cycle has made probably close to $3 million. Just from Oklahomans. And that's not to mention any other money that he's received from political action committees to do mailers and things like that. That's strictly for consulting services to those sitting members.
Okay, so now the consulting, are you talking about consulting money that's being paid with tax money?
Well, there's some argument that there's some of that going on, right? We have in Oklahoma, we have taxpayer paid lobbyists. So we have agencies, state agencies that have lobbyists that are employed by them that lobby the legislature, right? Well, those lobbyists then take your members out to dinner and do things like that, right? Give money to them, which then turns around and goes to the consultant. So it's your tax dollars gets paid to the agency pays the lobbyist then pays the representative, and then, or takes them out to dinner, and then the representative then pays the consultant.
Seems a bit circular, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what's crazy is that we're just at a surface level. Like here in a few minutes, we're going to go 2 or 3 more levels deep and see this full, I call it the consultant life cycle. It's think of back when you were in science, you start up here at the larva, then it goes to the adult, then it goes right. And then it passes and it starts all over again. Well, that's the money. The money comes in from the national level into into the candidates. The candidates then give it to the consultants. The consultants then give it to like things like forms of mailers or compliance representatives or things like that. And then it goes back to the candidate, and then it just goes in a complete circle. But what was interesting about Oklahoma to continue was that the pattern that began to become very, very clear was that if you hired camp, you gained access to messaging, a donor network, like outside donor network, national donor network, and then protection in primaries. And then if you decline to hire camp, then you risked becoming a target or losing like institutional power or institutional backing. And so over time, what this creates is a legislature that becomes more responsive to consultant networks and political action committees than it does to voters, because the representatives are incentivized to stay in office. And that was the pattern that, like, in simple formula that came to emerge as we go through like history and then the ethics reports together.
So you have a circular situation here where consultants get people elected, they pay the consultants, and the people that get elected get money. They drive the money to the donors pay the consultants, so everybody pays the consultants, and the consultants make money off both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fill us in on details.
So in Oklahoma, I think, and you'll know this, and your viewers know this, in Oklahoma, or not in Oklahoma, in politics, like there are two things that are like an absolute that's must have for power. It's money and proximity, right? You don't always have to be the elected official to have power. You just have to have proximity and enough money to influence that elected official. And so what we saw was things such as like the Advanced Freedom PAC, the Amber Integrated PAC, and the Truth PAC share what's known as a filing agent. So for those of you that don't know, a filing agent is two things. One, it is the person who's responsible for filing. And then two, it's the person that's legally responsible for like a campaign committee, right? Besides the candidate. If you have a filing agent, they're going to get listed in a lawsuit if you get sued. And so they all shared this organization that I saw known as Red Bud Reporting. Well, these PACs also frequently donate to candidates who also pay camp for services. Well, the founders of Red Bud Reporting are two previous lawyers that used to work at the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. And they have previous workings with camp. So now we have a consulting firm and now a compliance network that are at least adjoined or have a relationship from prior interactions. And then this is a good time to mention that Amber Integrated, as that PAC, has a lot of donations to Republicans in Oklahoma, but has this one pesky donation to Democrat Forrest Bennett, which shows us that this isn't necessarily about structure or like things like that. It's more about influence. It's not about party. It's about making sure that you have the influence where you want the influence to be. And so it's really, really interesting. We have...
Well, it is, because what you're seeing is, and this is a big deal, because the Republicans are told party loyalty above everything, but the party doesn't have loyalty to the Republicans. The party has loyalty to the donors, but because of the way this works, elected officials are supposed to, no matter what, you're loyal to your party, right? But when your party is loyal to the donors rather than the party principles, the problem is that what you end up doing is having loyalty to the donors rather than the party. And this becomes a money laundering scheme, essentially, whereby donors give to the party or to these PACs or these third-party entities. These third-party entities and PACs pay to keep the people that these donors want in power. And so you end up with elected officials being owned not by we the people, not by anybody that's actually standing for anything that we care about, and not even people who are loyal to party principles. They're just loyal to whoever's got the money.
Well, exactly. And what's really, I think that's really important to recognize in state races is that this money isn't always coming from your state. Take Oklahoma it's a really good example. We legalized medicinal marijuana via a state question. But that state question was not funded or started by state actors here. It came from California and other outside states that brought that in. Well, the same thing happens with money, right? Is that people want things to be passed in Oklahoma because obviously it's the reddest state and they need to break it. And so they import all this money. And so the same thing's happening in every state in the country, is that these consultants and representatives are being donated to and supported by people that don't have the state's interest or the people's interest that live in that state in mind. But back to like the compliance backbone. So of the camp candidates, several of them, at least 8 of them, used this Redbud reporting. What's really, really interesting is that it is across multiple PACs, right, that are listed within Oklahoma. Well, then, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Also, House, Senate, Democratic leaders also use Redbud, even as the PACs, right? So you have this reporting backbone that is the compliance organization for Republicans, and then the vast majority of Republican PACs now also is the filing agent for House and Senate Democratic leaders' campaign committees, right? And so a really good example of this is that we are front running of the Democrat gubernatorial Representative Cindy Munson uses Redbud reporting. The minority leader in the Senate, Senator Kirk, uses Redbud reporting. Senator Michael Brooks, Democrat senator in Oklahoma, uses Redbud reporting. And so again, like what we see is that it's not party politics, right? I think Oklahomans, we always thought that there was some ideological problem that was stopping us, right? Like, if we could just get more Republicans in office, like we would get the reform that we wanted. But that's not the case. Like, we don't need a single Democrat to vote on a single bill to pass anything. We don't even need a single Democrat to vote to override a governor veto in Oklahoma, right? And so what we found is that there's this bipartisan network. So like different parties, same consultants, overlapping political action committee ecosystem, and at the center of it and the anchors are camp and Redbud reporting. And so this continuity kind of like helps to explain why some reforms stall regardless of which party wins, right? Is that the same people that are driving decisions, or at least what it would appear to be driving decisions, cross party lines. And so it's no longer ideological in Oklahoma.
No, well, I don't think it's ideological anywhere. We see that all over the place, right? I mean, guys, remember, what we're talking about here is what's happening on every single level of our political space. This is the uniparty, and this is how it works. The funders, whether they're billionaire Democrats or billionaire Republicans, all fund the same people. The consulting class is the one that controls this. The consulting class are the people who pick the winners and the losers. And it's very easy to understand in a state level because, 20 grand in a state primary for a House seat is more than enough to win most House seats in this country on a state level. So for a billionaire Democrat who really wants to have a House seat that's got a key position, right? This House seat's going to, potentially have a leader on the Rules Committee in any given state. They throw some extra money on the primaries to make sure they've got the right Republican running. At that point, it doesn't matter because you've got a red district. They know it's Oklahoma. You're going to vote red no matter what. And people are out there voting. They say, well, we've got Republicans, so it's good. We win, right? Except for it's not. That's why you have Indiana, where the Republicans betrayed Trump and refused to redistrict. That's why you have all of the things that are held up in Oklahoma. That's what's happening on a federal level. It's happening on a state level. It's happening on every single level. And it's because of this crossover. It's because of the way the money's going back and forth. And it's because at the end of the day, this isn't a D or R thing. This is 100% just a liberal thing, a uniparty thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And what's interesting, Tom, is I'm actually working on it. Like I am piecing together the links between political action committees and consulting firms that they use across the nation, right? Showing that like what is happening, like we know it's happening, but to prove it on a much larger scale.
Yeah.
Right. And it's insane what I found. Like it's incredible. The next layer in Oklahoma that I got brought to was a political action committee known as the Majority Fund. So the Majority Fund is the House's leadership PAC, which we can argue is questionable in nature anyway. I think it becomes even more questionable when you have like the consultant stranglehold that you have on Oklahoma leadership. Then now you have a fund or a political action committee where the the leadership can fundamentally decide who gets elected and who doesn't, while also being controlled by a consultant, or at least that's what it would appear like. But what I found about this Majority Fund is that its filing agent is an individual by the name of Jake Parsons. Jake Parsons is the senior advisor to the Speaker of the House. Now, why is this important? Remember, everybody, like Tom said at the beginning, independent expenditures have to be free from coordination or communication with candidates and their committees, right? So now you have a political action committee that is making expenditures in House races in Oklahoma in support of sitting members, while the person who is responsible for ensuring that independence is also within the Speaker of the House's office. So I'll give this example. Now, I can't tell you that it's happening, but it's not far-fetched. Tom, you're the Speaker of the House. I'm a representative. Hey, Tom, I'm getting my ass beat by this challenger. Like, it's rough and I need some help. And then you, Tom, you turn around and you go to Jake Parsons and you say, hey, Jake, Jonathan's struggling in his election, right? And the next thing you know is that a mailer hits the door, either a hit piece against the challenger or that I'm the most conservative member of the House, even though I voted yes for abortion, right? Now,
Nope.
Is that too far-fetched to assume that the probability of that backdoor meeting happening? I would say no. And
Well,
at the very
listen,
like
it's as crystal clear as can be, right? So I got the guy who's controlling the money working for me in my office, and we're supposed to believe that these guys aren't talking about who to support or how to support it. I mean, legally, they're not supposed to be doing that, but I mean, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right?
and it definitely quacks. Where it gets even more convoluted in Oklahoma, and like you said, Tom, it's in every single state. So the Majority Fund primarily spends its money through two vendors. Who do you think those two vendors are?
I'm interested.
First one's Camp, shocker.
Yep.
The second one is an organization known as South Creek Group LLC. So South Creek Group LLC is owned and operated by a gentleman by the name of Evan Handy. He used to, I'm pretty sure if my memory serves me correctly, he used to work for Senator Imhoff at the time, but he now has his own consulting firm and things like that. Well, what's interesting is Jake Parsons on his LinkedIn account used to be a partner at South Creek Group LLC before 2018 when he rose to the senior advisor to the Speaker of the House. For everyone just listening, remember 2018 is when the purge happened, when Camp helped oust all the conservative members. The new leadership team took over, stranglehold got tightened, and now this gentleman rose and has been the senior advisor to the Speaker of the House for now coming up on like 7.5 years. Well, things get a little bit more tricky when I went and pulled South Creek Group's registration with the Secretary of State. So not their Ethics Commission filing, but their business filing. Well, in Oklahoma, you have to have a registered filing agent to file your LLC in the state of Oklahoma. Well, South Creek Group's registration says Secretary of State.
Okay, so they don't. Who's their filing agent then?
Good question.
I mean, that would indicate that the Secretary of State is their filing agent.
Well, yeah. So it comes to it brought me to two conclusions. One nefarious, one just more that it blurs opacity. So the nefarious one is that they put it on there and then they lobbied the Secretary of State or used their power in the legislature and political power to have it removed to try to blur who it is. The second non-nefarious reason is that they just didn't put one, and so the person of last resort became the Secretary of State. Well, I filed a business LLC in Oklahoma, and what's funny is that the filing agent is a required block. You cannot leave it blank. So it brings me back to the first one. And so, like you said, what we get is we get like coordination without meeting the legal bar or the legal burden to prove it, right? In Oklahoma, our state laws just like match that of the federal laws that you can't coordinate it. Well, what happens when that person is just embedded in the room, like just in the conversations, in the room where those conversations are occurring, right? Do we meet it? And then we get like when on the consultant side, when one consultant designs both candidate campaigns and political action committee activities, functional coordination occurs through shared strategy. And so it becomes less about maybe individual bad actors and more about a structural problem and a structural incentive that's embedded in the system that then those bad actors then abuse.
So we have essentially this kind of circular buy-off, pay-off control system. And this all comes down to the uniparty money controlling anyone that wants to run anywhere. They make sure that they've got the right people in place, to maintain power. And then they put their lobbyists in positions of power, working for the people that they got elected so that they can essentially, let's say, coordinate, even though they're not allowed to coordinate. So they're not doing that. But it's just, you got the fox guarding the hen house, quite literally. And the left seems to have figured that out. This is the uniparty. I mean, this just is a uniparty. And you've got it in full-fledged in the reddest state in the union, Oklahoma.
And like I said, if it's happening here in a state that is the reddest, think about the purple district. I would say states like Georgia, Arizona, right? Like your battleground states. I can only imagine what happens in those states, right? If it's happening here where one party has outsized control, I can only imagine how much money flows and is laundered effectively through those battleground states. It's astronomical. I could almost guarantee.
Not sure.
And what's interesting continuing is that for the first time in Oklahoma history, we're about to have something catastrophic. And that is the same consultant ecosystem is about to extend its control out of just the legislature into the entire executive. And let me explain why. So Representative John Pfeiffer is the candidate and frontrunner of the labor commissioner's race, is a camp client. John Echols, the leading candidate for the attorney general's race, is a former Fount client. And what's really, really interesting is he uses a gentleman by the name of Chad Alexander on his ethics report. Well, Chad Alexander is married to Stephanie Alexander, who used to work at camp and is believed to be like in the upper levels there, right? So even though he doesn't have camp on his ethics, it's camp by like proximity. Like you're using the consultant that's married to the consultant that works for camp.
Of course.
Senator Adam Pugh, frontrunner for the candidate for state superintendent, camp client. So for the first time, if all of these people win, right? If Charles McCall or Gettner Drummond, one of those front runners for the governor's race, wins, if John Pfeiffer, if Senator Adam Pugh, if former Representative and candidate Attorney General John Echols wins, you'll have one consultant that now has unilateral control and influence over every lever of power within Oklahoma. Think about that. One consulting group controls.
And this is it, the consolidation of power, and it's the control, and it's done through this shady backroom stuff. Jonathan, I need to hear a lot more about this, and I want to urge people. Listen, if you live in Oklahoma, you need to start talking about camp and these groups. You need to start speaking out. But around the country, I want to urge people to dig into your filings, dig into what's going on. This is publicly available data. You just got to do the homework. It takes some time, but it's out there. And we're coming up on the end of the show. Jonathan, is there a spot people can follow your work or support you further? And also, we got to kind of wrap up here, but if there's any last words you want to say on this.
Absolutely. And so I think like the important thing is that we know it's happening, right? And so I think what we need to do is, it's good to talk about it, but we need to find solutions to it, right? That's the important thing is telling people what it is, and then how do we fix it? And so I think there's a few things. One, unfortunately, the Supreme Court has enshrined political action committees in a decision known as Citizens v. United, right? And so that's going to continue. So we have to play their game for now, at least until that's overturned, just like we had to do with abortion. So maybe like talking to your representatives and requiring additional disclosures. I wrote a bill and sent it to some representatives to require that consultants have to file with the Ethics Commission, and representatives have to disclose on their filings for candidacy who they're going to use as their consultant, right? At least then it's not embedded in just like bureaucratic paperwork that you have to go file through. And so I think that's important. And then maybe like restricting the amount of money. Sure, political action committees have to be able to donate, but the Supreme Court never said how much, right? There's no reason why a political action committee should be able to give more money than a person can give. Like if there's a millionaire that wants to support in their private capacity, they should be able to give as much money as they want to their representatives and not have a 501c4 be able to outfund them. And so I think that's the important thing. And to follow me, so I write on a Substack weekly. You can find it at statehousesecrets.substack.com. And then I'm on X at Hewitt Reform. And I appreciate you, Tom. Thank you so much in the incredible work that you do. It's important. And the only way that we beat it is to get the information out.
We do. We've got to keep pushing. We got to keep fighting to get this stuff out. We got to get the truth out. The corruption from both parties is beyond what people realize. And we're at a point now where we're either going to have to start really taking actions, understanding that the Republican Party is no longer controlled by MAGA. It's no longer representative of MAGA. That's why you have Lindsey Graham out there. By the way, Lindsey Graham really likes to play with kids' wands. I mean, oh my God, I need to clarify that. I mean, bubble wands, which are wands that little kids play with. I don't mean kids' wands in any sort of a weird way or anything, and just because he doesn't want the Epstein list out there. Lindsey Graham loves playing with kids. I want kids wands. I mean bubble wands that kids like to play with. So don't be sure to do not vote for Lindsey Graham because he likes playing with kids wands, kids toy wands. I should clarify so that there's no misunderstanding of the reference there. Listen. Okay, guys, I've almost made it through a show without getting into trouble. Jonathan, thank you for joining us, man. You're awesome. I want to hear more about this, and I'm eager to see more what you got on this. So we'll have you back here sometime soon. Keep fighting in Oklahoma and around the country. Folks, this is how corruption works. The consulting class runs it. The uniparty runs it. It's the uniparty running our country. We fight back or we lose everything. If you believe in MAGA, you got to speak out on this because the goal is to destroy anything that's MAGA or MAHA related. Get rid of we the people and just let this uniparty consultant class run the show. Thank you guys for listening. TomRenz.com, www.tomrenz.com. Check out Paleo Valley and the links, and givesendgo.com/RenzLaw. We do not like playing with kids' wands like Lindsey Graham does at Disney World. We prefer to protect kids. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back very soon.
Thank you for watching the Tom Renz Show. Join us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, putting an axe in the skull of tyranny.